Hey, this is Eric from Catching Light.
Hey, this is Hemp.
Hey, this is Glenn.
Hi, I'm Steve-O.
Hey, this is Drew Hines with Hindsight Imagery.
This is Matt Callahan at Digimatty Photographic Services.
Hey, this is Jason, and welcome to Tales from the Pit. Hello and welcome to Tales from the Pit, the behind-the-lens access for the entertainment world and the creative people involved. Today is part 2 with our guest, Brian Hardaswick. We hope you enjoy the episode. And you mentioned it earlier, are you able to really go out much and see stuff at all, or is it just...
Not on show days.
No.
Days off, yes, more so because I have more of my own time. And I really like to be close to the venue. If somebody needs me, something happens, something goes wrong. There's a lot of little problem solving that happens throughout the day, and just being on site is crucial, at least in like the TM PM world. It's more like, drum techs, guitar techs, sometimes VIP, maybe sometimes merch, a little more like flexibility, and getting to go out. But in our roles, just because we're very like on call and very much kind of babysitting in one aspect or another for whoever it may be, we have to stay pretty close to the venue or in the venue.
So when you started with Popevil, walk me through after Popevil, what happens? Where do you go? Actually, before we even talk about that, I mean, you're literally touring with a band for a period of time, whether it be months, weeks, years. I don't know how that works. I know Popevil for that, for the Up album, they were just nonstop touring. I believe they said they were 2 years straight or something like that. But what happens in between tours? What do you do?
It's interesting you asked that. So Popevil was a band that would tour. I mean, honestly, we would do like 200 some shows a year. And my first like 5 years with them, I actually lived in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where they lived. And I lived on the bus. Like they toured so much that like the availability of like flying home and staying in hotels, like that band wasn't at that level yet where they could just send crew back and forth to do so. So I live on the bus, like in a parking lot in Grand Rapids for like months at a time, which when you're 22, 23, 24, it's cool. It's fun. It's a party, you make the best of it. But getting on more of a serious side of it, when I started getting flown home from tours and they started touring a little bit less, I used to suffer from really bad post-tour depression. And I didn't know what it was at the time, but when you're around so many people and it's go, 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 and it's show, party, party, party. And, it's all this, you're in this whole bubble of touring. And then all of a sudden, like you're on a plane and then you're home. And for me, I was living on a farm in South Dakota in the middle of nowhere. So like, it was like this, and then all of a sudden it just did that. And all of a sudden I was here within 24 hours. And I would get like horrible anxiety and like really sad and weird. And like, I didn't know what it was. And I was like, I was just too, I guess, ignorant to realize that it was a type of depression that was happening. And I would call my friends and I'd talk them through it. And it would take me like sometimes up to a week or 2 weeks to like shake it. And by that point, I know that they'd be announcing the next thing. So then I had something to look forward to again, so I started to like build back up. I'd fly out, I'd go in, do the tour. Everything's great. And then all of a sudden here, and then I was back down here again. And so it really took a long time to balance that. And I'm kind of veering off track here a little bit, but this will tie back in. And I think with them, I was there for 6 years and I hit a point where I learned from those around me, and I really like to take myself out of my comfort zone. And that's where I really learned how to just grow. And I think most people do. That's where you get your confidence from and your drive and your motivation. Right. And I hit a point, and like with the band, we all kind of just realized that, they were going in one direction and me mentally and what I wanted was going in another. And they took a break for a little while. And so that I went out with the band Nothing More, following Popevil. And, I talked to their management and our management, and everybody was cool with that. So I went out and worked for them for a little bit. And they ended up getting a tour canceled in 2017. We're supposed to go to the UK with Nothing More. And In This Moment called. And their production manager at the time was like, hey, are you up to come be our stage manager and do playback? And I won't lie, like I'd seen In This Moment a few times on festivals, and I was like, I'm pretty scared of her. I don't know if I can handle this. She looks pretty intense. And he kind of laughed about it. And he's like, I think this would be a great opportunity for you to start growing again. Like now, like, you're here. Now let's get you to here. And, your goal is here. And so I went out and I stage managed and did playback for about a year. And then about a few months into that next year, so come 2018, they asked if I was interested in doing front of house because they knew I liked to mix. And that was where like me as a front of house engineer really got deep and heavy, was mixing them because they're very specific. I had my audio package. I was calling audio companies. We were doing big rooms. And that was, again, faking it till you make it. But they believed I had an ear. My mentors believed in me, like Bruce from Five Finger Death Punch, Chad Olick. He does, like Fall Out Boy and a bunch of other bands. Brian Campbell from Breaking Benjamin. The list goes on and on. There's tons of guys that I looked up to, men and women. And they all started to be very encouraging. Like, you have something here, like just keep doing this, keep mixing. And so I really grew as an engineer through In This Moment. And I've been with her and them for almost 6 years now.
When you guys came to the State Theater in 2019, Halloween 2019, I think it was, the sound, the guitar tones, that room, you had that room dialed in so good. I mean, I felt it. It was like such a great sound, dude. You had that dialed in. And I was talking to Randy about that online, and I was like, dude, man, he's got you guys dialed in perfectly. They're so good. They deliver the same. I watched Maria be like sick as a dog in the morning from like the cold or the flu. And that woman is a badass. Like, and I'm not just saying that because I'm employed by her and she may or may not listen to this. She probably will. But she cares so much about the show and the fans. And it shows for itself. The production, the costumes, the wardrobe, the dancers, that's all her. And when she's home, she's already, I can't say anything, but the announcement that they're getting ready to make for next year, what they're going to do is wild. Like this is the tour that everybody's been waiting for years and years and years. And it's finally happening. Actually, we just like had phone calls about this yesterday. So it was like, oh my God. You will be with them, whatever coming up, whatever the thing is coming up, you will be running sound for them. Yeah, I don't know what the rest of the year looks like for them, but we have something coming up sooner than expected. Again, like dates and who and what and all that. Obviously, I can't say about that. Yep, but yeah, so I do have some more stuff coming up with them. Nice. I can't wait for everyone to hear about it because even like when I first heard, I was like, no way. There's no way this is happening. And they're like, it's happening. Like the production phone calls have happened, the emails have happened, and I'm like, all right, this is insanely huge for this band. Super psyched. I've ever been a part of. And I'll say this, we've talked with Jeremy Saffer, the photographer. I don't know if you know who Jeremy is. Yep. I do. And Justin Press has been on as well. And, I said this every single time when it comes to creativity and talent, Maria Brink, holy cow, dude, off the charts when it comes to that creativity and vision and talent. I mean, not only is she beautiful, obviously as a fan, I'm just in love with every aspect of her, what she does, what she creates, the way she creates, all that stuff is just insane off the charts. Just awesome. It's awesome to see that and feel it and watch it grow and grow and grow. And it's just, insane. One of the best live, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but one of the best live shows. I mean, just real quick, when you guys came to our venue with Five Finger, I and myself and a few other photographers, we picked shows, and I jumped on that show as soon as I saw it. The other guys are like, I don't know we do country stuff like that, or some of them were like that. And I was like, dude, if you want to see a fantastic show, if you suck as a photographer, this is the show for you because you cannot take a bad photo of this show. It's true. Very true. And she thinks like when we do pre-pro, we build that stage. She walks around the room and she looks at every angle. And, she calls it a photographer angle. So she'll walk to the left side and she'll be like, all right, if I'm standing here, this is what it looks like to them. If I stand over here, this is what it looks like. Let's adjust this. Let's move that.
So the whole show is very designed to always have a good view, no matter where people are sitting or standing or listening from. And the amount of detail and attention she puts into this show is it's incredible, man. And she knows when she's performing, she's watching every detail. Not only is she headbanging, singing, dancing, moving, entertaining the crowd, watching for people's safety, but she's watching the whole production and making sure everything is deploying correctly. And, you know, we'll have notes and we'll have meetings about it. And she's a one of a kind. There's nothing like her out there that it does what she does on this scale. And she continues to have trajectory. Like, you know, they had the Blood album, and then that grew to Ritual, and then that grew more. And now they're working on new stuff for another project. And it just continues to mature and grow. And I think the songwriting and her performance continues really to grow with that.
Yeah. This everything about it, every album, every live show that I've been a part of, that I've, you know, enjoyed, has just taken that notch up a little bit. I'm like, damn, what the heck can you guys do next? But it sounds like you got something pretty good coming.
Dude, this is wild.
When it comes to, we'll get back to the other bands in just a second, but when it comes to you being, for example, In This Moment, because they have such a production, how far involved with the show are you before the tour starts?
Oh, heavily. So as the production manager, I advance the show, which means I call every venue, I get the stage dimensions, where we can hang this, where we can put this, the CO2 order, where the buses are going to go, dressing rooms, laundry, all of it. I have every detail done in paperwork a month before we show up to the venue. So for example, say if we're going on tour December 1st, I start advancing the amount of weeks that the tour is, or about the amount of weeks I start to advance prior. So if we're going out for 6 weeks, I'll start reaching out about 6 weeks prior and advancing that. So by the time we get to day one of the tour starting, I have pretty much all my paperwork done. I have my folder done. The advance work is done. I mean, I have to do things like parking maps for the drivers, and I have to let semi guy know where he's going to go. I need to know if they have power for his truck. I need to let the bus drivers know where they're going. We need to figure out the mileage to get there on time. Is there tolls that we're going to have to hit? Is one freeway more notorious than another for traffic? And these are all little details a lot of people don't even think about, but you know, some people just walk into an arena and they're like, oh, this show just pops out of nowhere. But there's so many logistics behind it. Even as little as like weather, like especially now, like this is freakishly unreal that there's no snow here. But coming into Detroit and Chicago, I was prepared. I always call it snow time. And I always give us at least 2 hours of snow time in our travel, but I haven't had to. So like last night we got to stay in Chicago till 4 a.m. and everybody got to go out and hang out and have fun. Normally I would have had us leave at 2 a.m. if it was kind of, you know, crappy out, to just be cautious about that. But there's so many, that's what really makes a good production manager and tour manager is attention to detail, the little things. It's the big things are important, but the littlest details are what really set apart, you know, they say like the men from the boys or the girls from the women in this job. And that's what the artists notice is the little things. Like if we have to be there at 9:30, I want to be walking in at 9:15. If I need 10 of them, I want to make sure I have 12 advanced, whatever it may be.
And that's months in advance before tour starts. You're doing all this months ahead of time. Yeah. I assume you would have to. Yeah. What about for production stuff when you know, the band said, or the band's going to start a new tour on a new album cycle. We want a new stage presence. We want new lights, all that stuff. Are you involved with any of that sort of production stuff as well?
Yeah. So like this new tour that we just did with the giant triangle that we had on stage. I don't know. Did you see that?
Was that the last one I saw was 2019? That's the last show I saw.
We changed that whole show again.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so like this show is cool. I actually had a dream last March that we just had this giant like triangle of light on stage behind her and nothing else. Like all the production was gone except for like a few lights in the fog. And so I did a drawing in my stage program and I sent it to her. And I'm like, I had a dream that we did this cool, like very futuristic, minimal stage design with this huge triangle. And that was it. And she was like, no, not doing it. She's like, no, not happening. Not enough. And I was like, all right, fair enough, whatever. And she ended up calling me back like a couple of days later. And she's like, I want to do the triangle. So we did it. But yeah, her and I are very, very hands-on, like multiple phone calls a day. How can we make this work? How can we make this? Which way can this move? How do we build this?
Right.
My vision. So I'm she's obviously 100% through and through, the creator, the director, the designer. I will definitely give my input. And as the production manager, that's my job to oversee, like, you know, yes, we can do this. No, we can't do this. Yes, this would fit. No, this wouldn't fit. And here's why, or here's how we can scale this down, or here's how we can produce this effect on a budget. You know, you always, and that's the other thing is money. You know, everyone's on a different budget, and everyone's on different ticket sale counts, and everyone's on different projections at this point in the industry. And so that's the other thing you always have to be cautious of is the money side of it. So there's, you know, yes, you can want $1 million in production, but you might only have 750,000 to spend. Or, you know, you get to like TSO, who's got probably, you know, $1 bazillion to spend on production, and they can. So it's really just a matter of, there's multiple outlets you have to be cautious of, and to make it the whole thing be cohesive. Yeah.
I mean, you guys visually, the shows look fantastic.
Awesome.
I'm excited for whatever's next, but let's talk about other bands. So you jumped into In This Moment off of Nevermore, I believe you said, right? Or in between Popevil and Nevermore.
Yeah, that was the. Yeah, so Popevil went to Nothing More to In This Moment. In This Moment has been with the last 6 years. In that time, in 2018, I started working for Skid Row, who's one of my favorite bands of all times. Doing front of house for them, the coolest dudes in the world. And between that, I was out with the group Fifth Harmony from the TV show X Factor, that girl pop group. I went out with that in 2015. And I was going to continue to work with them, but that whole project kind of started to dismantle pretty quickly. Is, you know, a lot of the pop stuff, when it's created like that, you don't really know the longevity. That's a very like tour by tour kind of thing, which was fine. The girls are sweethearts, and they've all done really well for themselves. You know, Camila's got her solo career, Armani's modeling. You know, Dinah Jane's she's got a music career. Everybody's doing very well. And then I went out with Asking Alexandria, and I've done a few tours with them. They're the coolest dudes in the world. Love mixing with those guys. I'm a very, if I'm with an artist, I like longevity. I don't jump around a whole lot. I think that really shows loyalty and structure with an artist, or, you know, like with the job. Like if you work for Target, you know, and you work for Target for 10 years, or, you know, you worked for like Kmart, Target, Walmart, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods in a span of 6 months, people are going to be like, why did you jump around so much? Like, why didn't you stay with one employer? But now just recently Starset came on, like, you know, we really need somebody to tour manage in front of house and get us through the rest of this tour. And it was really like, you know, they just needed logistics help. And mixing the show. And I took that on, and I'm really at a point now where I really want to push my brand and what I like and what I like and what my strengths are, and really just take on as many artists as I can, respectfully when available. I mix Dead. I do front of house for those guys on this last tour. I've done Red Sun Rising. I've done Avatar. You know, I really just like to, whenever somebody needs help, be available and always just keep that clientele base. And, you know, I'm pretty lucky. Like, you know, my better half at home is awesome, and he gets, you know, that this is my life, and he travels all the time as well. And if I can just up and go and be on a flight, I can. You know, I don't have any strict tie downs at home.
How does that? So, I mean, you've spent probably the last almost 2 years at home, and now you're back on the road. How does that affect your relationship and stuff like that?
Well, in a nutshell, this has been very fascinating. And I mean, as most people know, so throughout the pandemic, I learned a lot about myself. And, you know, I had so much downtime that, like, you know, I lived in Florida for a while. I did a remodel on my mom's house. I worked for Nashville Nightmare doing like horror theatrical makeup during Halloween time. Nice. Just a bunch of different things to really just keep busy, because I am very high energy, very extroverted type. And so it's just important that I could keep myself busy. That was what I didn't really care about the job at the time. I just needed something to do. But I finally got to the point of confidence and being true to myself, and I actually came out in January to my friends and family, and it was extremely it was respected. It was taken well. It was very, like I said, I don't know what the word is. It was a way bigger deal in my head than it needed to be. You know, everyone was super cool about it. And so when that happened, I'd never been in a relationship before, ever. Like, I was single dude. I was going to be single forever. And then come, right around January, beginning of February, I met a really cool dude who's awesome, traveled, really had his stuff together, and we just hit it off really well. Like we became best friends almost immediately, which was so cool. And what worked out well for us is we got to spend like 7 months together and really build like, let's see what this is, how this is. For him, he didn't come out till August of last year. So we were both very new in this boat. We didn't really know what we were doing. But luckily I didn't go on tour till September 9th within this moment. And so because of that, that allowed us to spend a ton of time together and really solidify a relationship and our bond and us and like know what we were wanting and where we were. So then when I went on the road, it wasn't that hard. I mean, we missed each other, of course, but he flew to Vegas for a couple of days. We flew to Florida for an event. He came down to Kansas for like 3 days. The band loved him. He actually would we hired him as our runner for pre-pro. Nice. He on show days, he would just come in and set up in the office and like help run or do stuff and like just be like the right-hand man. And so we did a really good job of making it work. And we're both very, grown, mature dudes. And so we he knew what he was getting into and I knew what I was getting into. So it wasn't really that difficult for either one of us, to be honest. And it's actually for me on the road before meeting him, everything was like tour. I lived in this big, crazy touring bubble. And I always say the touring world is not real. Like we're so accommodated to, we get catering, we get to cut the line. We get to check into hotels early. We live in $1 million tour buses. We sometimes fly in private jets. Like it is real life for some people, but not for most. And then you get back in the real world and you're like, oh, wait, I have to drive my car to Starbucks and somebody's not going to do this for me.
I have to take out my own garbage.
Yeah. I was like, I don't do this. I'm kidding. But since meeting him and building that relationship, it's really like, I have like a great Brian 50-50 and a great like Brian home life 50-50. And it really keeps me balanced. And it was the best thing for me. It's changed my life for the better, mentally healthier, physically healthier. And so it's really been a blessing. I'm much happier now than I was prior to like in 2019 and touring.
Nice.
And I see it now, like having that happiness and that confidence. The people that don't, it hurts because I remember being in that position and knowing what that feels like and not having someone to come home to. Like, in a couple of days I'll fly home. And like our week of Christmas to New Year's Eve is absolute chaos. Like I actually thought I was going to get 2 days at home. And I was talking to him today, actually, before I got on this. And he's like, oh, by the way, I have to fly to Orlando now when you get home and then you have to fly back and I need you to go down to Nashville and do this. So I'm like, this suitcase I have right over here is actually not getting unpacked until January 3rd now.
Oh, geez.
It just, it's what we like to do. We're both very on the go travel people. So it works.
That's awesome. I mean, that sounds like a perfect situation. You think about the intense touring that you talked about and the nonstop craziness of a day and the dopamine hits that's going through your brain all day long. And then you come home and everything just hits a stone wall. But having someone with you that is, your glove or your right hand or whatever, that you guys fit together so well, it really actually just, it changes everything and changes your perspective. It's really nice to have that love and support and all that stuff. And I assume that, today, especially with the bands you're touring with, they're so thoughtful, so understanding people for, with emotions going through all this stuff as well. So I think that you're in, probably a really, really nice environment because you hear so many horror stories about some, mostly back in the day, really, but you hear a lot of horror stories about some bands just being total jerks and all that stuff.
Yeah. I've been very lucky. I haven't worked for one single artist that has ever, well, I've never quit. I've never quit nor been fired from a band. So that's good. Right. But I know everybody has their days. Like there's been arguments, we've had ITM arguments. We've been asking like Skid Row, everybody has their arguments, but it's show business related. It's not personal.
Right.
I was just telling somebody this the other day is you have to be able to separate that personal from that business, like a relationship. Like if we're arguing about like who's doing the laundry, like I'm not mad at you. We just have to separate like whose task is the laundry. Like I'm mad the laundry's not done. I'm not mad at the person. Like who's doing it, Yeah. And same thing on stage. Like whose job is the backdrop? Whose job is the drum riser? Whose job is to advance this? Whose job is to do that? And sometimes you do get heated. And especially on this road, like you're living with so many people and there's so many egos and emotions. And everybody's going through something different. Obviously not one person's the same on this planet. So
yeah, and you obviously factor in all of the craziness going on with political stuff and social media stuff, and then you throw the virus on top of that as well. When you were out on the road for 2019 and then all of a sudden everything stops, I saw that you were taking a proactive approach to mixing while you were not touring. And so walk me through what went through your head when the whole thing stopped and what you did.
Yeah. I mean, when it all stopped, I had to figure out how to keep my skill, working, and my hands working and my ears trained. So living in Nashville, right down the street from Soundcheck, they had a bunch of open rooms that were just empty. And there was a guy there every day that had to open the building, but nobody was in there. And so I talked to the owners and I was like, hey, can I come in with my computer and just mix? Like, I can set up my virtual tracks, which are the recordings I talked about earlier in the podcast, and just mix. And like, if somebody needs to use the room, just kick me out. And they're like, yeah, sure. So I would go in there for like hours and hours and hours and days and just mix music. And it gave me sanity. It gave me enough of a feeling of normalcy. And then I could go home at night and feel like I learned something. Yeah. My goal is like, when I wake up in the morning, I want to make one new contact in my phone, and I want to learn something new every day. And I always try to, like, each night when Brock and I will call, I always say, what's something you're thankful for? What's something you learned today? We always kind of call each other on it. And it's important because, it can be something as simple as like, today I learned how to make an egg and not burn it. Or it could be something as huge as like today, like I found out my CPA can override something on my tax form and I actually can write this off. And much more complex or much simpler. So that's what that did for me in Nashville, was being able to go into sound check in the rehearsal rooms. And it was a completely empty room with just me and a board and a PA, but I would mix the ITM show and, I could focus on her vocals or guitar tones, drums, different effects. I would do different things to see what would kill audio or what wouldn't, or like if I would create like, oh shit moments and be like, okay, like I would delete like 7 things all of a sudden. Like how long does it take me to fix this?
Nice.
And really, I just try to, keep my hands and ears fresh.
And that's, I can sort of relate to what you're saying as well. Because when COVID hit, obviously we lost our work for the next year and a half. We did open up in 2021, but all of 2020 was shut down for us in regards to concert photography anyways, or a venue anyways. And, for me as well, it was like, all right, I need to keep moving myself forward. Obviously I can't do it in a live environment. So I was like, I need to start sharpening my skills other ways. So I, learning everything I can, I started diving deep into 3D animation, Photoshop, all these other things that were my weaknesses, and kind of up my level. And now this year, because I did all that stuff, I've been able to do a lot more stuff on top of what I was doing. And people like, holy cow, man, we didn't know you could do all that stuff. I was like, well, I kind of didn't. I kind of couldn't.
Forced out of a comfort zone.
Yeah, exactly. And just keep moving, keep stepping up, and, never just sit there and say, all right, it's good enough.
Yeah. And that's the best thing. And, it's funny, the other night, I'm terrified of snakes. I hate those damn things. I never want to see one in my life. And one of the guys in the opening act has a mocha ball python.
Oh God.
It's a baby, but I mean, it's still like, I don't know, like probably that long and like that big around. And they're holding it in the dressing room. And for some reason, like I walked in and saw it and I was like, can I hold that? And he's like, yeah, sure. And granted, she has no teeth or fangs. So it can still like grab onto you, but it can't bite you at all.
Right.
But I held it and I wasn't nervous. Like I was confident in it. And it kind of like sparked this little thing where I was like, huh. And I had this idea is I wanted to do 40 things before 40 or face 40 fears before I turned 40. I'm 34 now. Yep. And one of those was hold a snake. And so now that I've done this, it's like triggered this whole new thing in my head over the last 24 hours. And so last night we were in Chicago and they had the snake out and I like grabbed it, like completely comfortable, and like put it around my neck. And I was like petting her and she was like crawling around my arm. And 48 hours prior to that, I would run away so quick. And so I'm really like, I'm on this new, not on a kick, but I've said I was going to do this, but I think this has kind of launched this 40 before 40. And now that I'm going to say this and it's recorded, I can't take this back, is my number one fear is skydiving. And so I think that would be my 40th thing would be skydiving.
That would be awesome, dude.
And like what better way to do it? Like, but things, like holding a tarantula, like I don't do spiders. No, sir. Not my thing. but, holding a tarantula and like little things like that really kind of, you can tell yourself it's okay.
So I can see the next email you write to Maria. We need more snakes and spiders on the next show.
I mean, I can see her rocking a ball python.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
She would crush that. I don't know. I actually don't know if she's afraid of snakes or not. She never said anything.
I totally can see that. Absolutely.
Very just like the female style of Alice Cooper.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so I don't want to take up all your time. You've been very graceful with your time so far, but let's kind of wind it down here. What's next for you? I mean, you've got so much stuff you've already achieved, and you have such a great vision of, your work ethics and where you want to be and what you want to do. What do you see? What's going on? What do you think's next for you?
I want to keep touring. I don't want to do it forever. I would like to get to the point. We're really throwing around the idea of opening and building like a storage rehearsal facility outside of Nashville. Starting small, like one room, some storage. We could do Christmas events, wedding events. We could bring, medium-sized bands in, because it's very important to have, a few sources of income always coming in. Mm-hmm. And after the pandemic hit, I won't lie, man, that's pretty terrifying that our entire industry stopped.
Right.
Film, audio, video, touring, all of it just stopped. And who's to say that couldn't happen again? There's all these variants now. Like, who's to say that this won't go away for another 20 years? I have no idea, but I really want to focus on, I would like to keep mixing audio, but for only a select period out of, the year. So I think my 2022 is probably about 50% filled up right now. And I'm going to leave the other 50% pretty open unless, there's some offers that really I can't turn down. But we would really like to focus on like getting this facility up and running, or at least the details on it, the architect plans, the cost, the land costs. With my partner and I, we're going to keep growing and doing our relationship. And there's things we want to do as a couple. He's taken on some new opportunities. So I want to make sure I'm there to support that.
Yeah.
And, really just stay involved and grow, but not kill myself. Like, I feel like I'm at a point where I don't need to be on the road nonstop and like just gone all the time. Like I've learned, the pandemic taught me a few things. It's okay to slow down and it's okay to relax once in a while. And it sounds silly to say that, but I mean, I couldn't even sit and watch a movie because I have to be like talking to someone or asking how people are doing or like fidgeting. And now I can sit down and like enjoy watching a movie, which that was a challenge for me for a long time. So really just continue to build structure and foundation, keep mixing, keep growing, keeping current on technology in our industry, but start looking. I want to be a business owner. I think between him and I, we're such opposites, but we can really find success in operating a business still industry related.
Nice. And specifically, you said Nashville. Is that because of the wide range of musical artists there and all that stuff? Is there other family relationships there or anything like that?
Not really. My family lives in Florida. His lives in Kentucky. But for us, I love Nashville. I love the people. I love the camaraderie. I love a lot of people, not us necessarily, but think it's such a honky tonk and so country based. But I mean, there's tons of hip hop, there's tons of rock, so many people. And even like the film industry now is really relocating to Nashville because LA is so oversaturated. Yeah. And that's what I think. I mean, our cost of living is going up tremendously in Nashville, and there's so much space is just going up because so many people are moving there. Which is good for the city, the infrastructure of the freeway system. And, they need to put in, a people mover, but it's a cool city, man. And there's still a lot of respect down there. People hold the door and they say, thank you. And, you can go out in one night and you can go meet 20 people. And I bet, 10 of them will stay in contact with you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's really nice to be around authentic, nice, genuine people that are interested in the same interests and all that stuff. Yeah. I'm sure you see so many wide variety of people from different locations and different venues and different states and different countries and all that stuff. It's how do you keep track of everybody, and how do you keep in touch with everybody?
I'm not great at remember names. I'm great with faces. And in my phone, the way I do it is I save the first name, last name, state or city, and like what they do. And honestly, what I'll do is like, if I'm in like Detroit, I'll just type in the word Detroit and I'll see, 10 people pop up. Like, for example, like Kevin Zink from the Machine Shop in Flint.
Yeah.
So I'll just be like, hey, Kevin, hope all's well. How you doing? Like, happy holidays. And so every city I go to, I always just do those little things, even like in, France or Amsterdam or in Ireland, wherever it may be. And I always just keep in touch. I'm really good about keeping in touch with people and just saying, hey, what's up? How you doing? And it always it keeps your name fresh too, in the Rolodex of their minds. And that's kind of how this whole Starset thing happened. Hit up a buddy. I'm like, hey, hope all's well. And he's like, oh shit, I forgot. He's like, are you off right now? And I was like, yeah, and made a connection. And then the whole thing happened really quickly. And that's important. Like nothing's going to come to you. No doors are going to open just because they open. Like you have to make it happen in this industry. Yep. And, I've been very fortunate. At a point, I was just a kid from South Dakota on a farm that like had a plan. And I still do. Like, it's funny. I'm still getting started. There's still a lot to achieve and a lot to grow, but I'm confident that with time and persistence that will continue to happen.
Nice. For people that want to learn more about you or maybe want to follow you and stuff like that, you have some awesome photos. I assume are you taking them from your phone? But
yeah, everything. I take everything on my cell phone.
Yeah. I mean, you're in the perfect spot for perfect photos. And every time you post a photo, I'm like, yeah, it's beautiful. You're right in that right spot right there.
It's funny. The last on the In This Moment tour, our photographer, he was actually like, he's like, why aren't you a photographer? And I'm like, I don't know. I was like, it's fun. You can do cool things with the iPhone, Yeah. And I don't really know much about pictures or editing. Like I just take pictures with the lights look cool to me or the crowd looks cool or, I'm doing something dumb and I'm like, I need to document this. Yeah. But my biggest thing is I like to share it too for my family to see, my grandmother, my mom, my uncle, I got family on Facebook and they're always, like, oh, what are you up to? What are you doing? And it's a great way it's kind of like it's a digital resume, people do keep up with it. And so that's why I've always been very involved, Instagram and Facebook.
Well, if you're willing, you want to share what those are for people to go observe that stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I kept it as simple as possible. So it's just my name. So Facebook is just Brian Hardaswick. And then the Instagram is at Brian Hardaswick. And I try to keep them linked together just because I have some family on one, some family on the other. I always try to end the stories, post like little silly things or little audio clips. And one cool thing real quick, I'll give a quick little personal shout out here is next year, I'm going to start offering an audio masterclass out at front of house. And nice. So it probably won't start until May or June. But what it will offer is the idea of it is I'll probably up to 10 people, obviously COVID pending, can purchase this and come out and they can come out for my sound check. They come out actually earlier and they get to see kind of what just goes into the day, from load in, they can see me build front of house, the logistics that go into building the stage, tuning the PA, EQing the PA, virtual sound check. They can ask questions, why do you do your kick drum like this? Why do you use these delays? Why do you use this effect? Why do you like this board? And then after that, they're free to go about their day once that's done. And then obviously I'd get them into the show where they can come back and hang out at front of house for the show and then watch some of the out. And, really it's something I always wish I had the opportunity to do, but I've never seen offered.
Yeah, I think that would be super. I'm actually very interested in that. That would be really cool.
And it would be, it would be nothing wild. It'd be very reasonable, very affordable, but, something that can really give a perspective. And the whole idea is for people that want to either grow and learn more or just want to see what the other side of it's like. That's something I've been working on. So I'm going to launch that summer of next year. Okay, cool. So we'll have to keep on the lookout for that too, as well. Yeah. Awesome. All right, cool. Well, I can't thank you enough. I mean, I was wanting you on my show for a long time or on our show for a long time. We've been doing this since the beginning of COVID because we couldn't do any actual shows in 2020. So we started doing this with artists and we've talked with, like I said, Justin Press and, several other people as well, that all know you and all speak highly of you. So you've been on my list for a while as well. I'm really glad that we were able to connect this, and I really appreciate your time here. So thank you very much. Thank you. It was awesome. And, I want everybody to keep their head up, keep moving on. The industry is definitely coming back full force. And, as long as So everybody just stays safe and just keeps following the rules and regulations, whether they agree with it or not. The whole idea is to keep music alive. Like that music is so important to so many people, whether it's live or it's an album or it's an iPod or it's whatever it is. It's therapy for so many, I think for millions of people.
Pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know
anybody that doesn't like music, actually.
Some form of music.
Like, we're probably not going to be friends.
Even while you're working, you're whistling. There's music everywhere. Absolutely.
Oh, that's funny. Like in the mornings, like when I'll shower, I'll whistle, and Brock will be like in the other room, and he's like, "Quiet, I can't think." And I'm like, "Yeah, sorry."
Well, I think probably for a musician, they probably need non-music time as well.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
All right. Well,
again, this is awesome.
Hey, thanks for watching this episode with Brian Hardaswick. We hope you enjoyed it. You can check out our other guests at all your favorite podcast locations. Also on YouTube, search for Tales from the Pit Photo and at talesfromthepit.net. We'll see you next time.